Welcome to another episode of No Tippy Tappy Football, brought to you by William Hill. I'm Natalie Pike, and as always, I'm joined by the man. It is Sam Allardyce. Hiya again, Sam.
Natalie, good to see you again.
Good to see you again. Yes, we're becoming good friends, I think.
In this wonderful surroundings.
And you've opened up your little black book again for us. Very kind of you. Tell us who you've invited in today.
Well, we've known each other since we were 16, Bolton Wanderers, and he came a year after me, and we've been known each other ever since, friends ever since. We've had two great careers, and it's my pleasure to introduce you to Peter Reid.
Peter, welcome. Hi.
Hey, by the way, little black book.
I know.
I'd love to see some of them numbers, by the way.
We've had Sammy Lee, we've had Duncan Ferguson, and now we've got you as well.
Ooh, hey, good people, good football people, good lads as well. And like Sam says, I was 15, got in that dressing room with him. Bolton Wanderers had a great youth system, i.e. that's why I signed. And like Sam, I got on the team at 17, 18, and we had a good career. But the dressing room back in them days was great. And football was different. But I wouldn't change my time for everything. And we've been friends ever since, so it's a long time.
Yeah, because you must meet a lot of people in football, but to actually have someone that you keep as a friend for this long.
Yeah, because in the game you move around and you move different places and they can come and go. But I think that, like Peter said, that bond you build when your kids together and you break through into the team and you live your dream. You're fulfilling your dream, the dreams that you had in your bedroom, the dreams that you had when I used to watch Wolverhampton Wanderers, and that dream becomes a reality when you step into the first team, and then you have to try and find out how good you are then, and whether you can sustain playing that level and develop. And of course, we at that stage with a good balance of experienced players, and like Roger Hunt and Frank Worthington, Tony Dunn, Peter Thompson, Willie Morgan, and us young uns, making it through together. And
I tell you what, I remember, you'll talk friendship and football. I remember I was having a struggle at Everton. I'll come on against Coventry, and he was playing, and I got a ball. To be fair, this game galvanised my career, but during the game, I've got a touch in the middle of the park, and it's a heavy touch, and he can clatter me. And I know, and we've had a chat about it, and he didn't because he was my mate, and the rest is history. Honestly, I got it in the team. We won championships and got it in the England team. But I always remember him. He didn't duck out the challenge. He knew it was me, and he could have carted me, but he didn't. And as a footballer, split seconds, and I went, wow, brilliant that. And I always remember that. Always remember it.
Wow.
Because he'd had such an interruption in his career with injuries, that it was, we'd all missed him at the Wanderers at that particular time. I'd moved on to Coventry, like I said, but it's one of those things, isn't it? My job was to clean players out if I could, and in them days, a manager liked if you hurt him. Right, it sounds silly to say that now, but the manager liked it if you hurt the opposition players, and that was the way it was. But one of those times where it's friendship means a lot in it, in what you're doing and where you're going, and you wouldn't do anything to go out and give your best, but just at that time, it's a split second decision, isn't it? And it happened. And I have to say, from my side, I'm glad it did because, like I said, we've been friends, not just in football. Really went on to World Cups and win league championships and stuff like that. But we've both been on into the management.
And of course, you yourself played at the World Cup. Can you tell us what is it like as a player? First of all, you get picked, you're on the plane, you go in. What is the whole experience like?
I've got no memories whatsoever of it. No, I was in the squad with, I mentioned 300 before, like the midfield three were Robson, Hoddle and Wilkins, Haitley up front with Lineker, and Chris Waddle on the left. And there wasn't a balance. This is when there wasn't a real balance to it. And so Bobby Robson, he gave me England. And then we got beaten the first game by Portugal 2-1. Hey, by the way, World Cup's unbelievable, the build-up. But we just got beaten in an FA Cup final, got there late. We got there late in 86. Liverpool turned us over. And he turned us over in the league, so I wasn't in the best of moods. I wasn't in the team. But then the Portugal game got beat 2-1. We played Morocco in a place called, we were based in Sotillo, played in Monterrey, which is a desert town. That was hot. Brian done his shoulder.
Yeah.
He went in with a dodgy shoulder, done his shoulder against Morocco. And Ray Wilkins got sent off. So then, the systems changed. Obviously, the manager and Don Howe changed the system where I come in with Glenn Hoddle. He played Trevor Stephen. Chris Waddle got injured in the training session. He played Stevie Hodge. And then he had Gary Lineker, who was having a bad time getting stick up front. But what he did then, he changed. He had Peter Beardsley in behind, who used to drop off the number 10, they call it nowadays. But we had players like that. And all of a sudden, we beat Poland 3-0. Gary Lineker gets an hat-trick. And the whole atmosphere with the supporters within the camp, it was like, wow, we're through. We were through. And let's see, I think we moved up to Mexico City then and played Paraguay and turned them over. And then you're obviously into a quarter-final against Argentina. And arguably...
the hand of God.
Exactly, yeah. So, which was...
Do you think that if that not have happened, you might have won it?
Funny enough, I've been. Someone rang me the other day. The referee was Tunisian, and he said he's got the ball, he's auctioning it. So he said, "Would you do a press conference?" I said, "All right." He said, "I'll give you a few quid." I said, "I'm on." Yeah, boot me in, Dano. They reckon it's going to go for 3 million nicker.
For the ball?
The ball. Honest to God. It's in the press this morning. So this
that's more that in terms of
3 million nicker.
That's in terms of the shirt
7.4
that you could have got.
Well, by the way,
maybe could have got.
Can I just say to you now? I was in London when they had the auction. I went up and seen it, and I'd be picture. It's the closest I've ever been to it. To be fair, but don't tell anyone.
Yeah, it went for over 7 million. That.
But what's you know, when you look back, it's one of the most iconic games.
Absolutely.
In it, because you've got the handball, you've got the second one, and then you've got like Lineker getting one back and nearly getting an equaliser. So it's, and some of the figures now are ridiculous. But
I don't think Pelé got that much for all of his memorabilia.
No. I just
Pelé, one of the greatest World Cup players and goal scorers, but Maradona had this. I don't know.
Well, they think he won the, well. I used to go to Argentina, and if you meet Argentinians, there was loads at this Sotheby's having a look at it, loads of Argentinians. And if you go to them, and Messi's one of the best players ever. If you go Maradona or Messi, 99% go Maradona.
Oh wow!
Because that was his international fame, you see. Yeah. Whereas Messi's never had that, has he? Like, I mean, that's the problem, isn't it?
What he did at Napoli.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it's like, and as we know, when he was at Barca, he got done by that Gucci, didn't he? Bilbao. Yeah. He got done over there, and that's when you could, like Sam says, you could layer on people them days. And don't get me wrong, I think Messi and Ronaldo, the sensations in the modern game's brilliant, but back in that day, the physicality was, let's say, a bit different.
Talking about memorabilia, do either of you collect it? Do you have? No.
I've got a bit. Yeah, I've got a shirt personally signed by Diego Maradona. I've got a baggy green cap signed by the late great Shane Warne, which I love.
I'm not that far, but I'll tell you, I did buy the cricket bat. One of the cricket bats is signed by all the England players when they won the Ashes for the first time
Oh,
for
I
a long
love
time
that.
in England.
Nice.
That was through Freddie Flintoff.
You've never watched the game.
know,
The only
I've
time
watched
you
on
watched it is when you got Strauss out at Old Trafford having a bevy. Do you remember that?
Kept the door
Do you
off,
remember that? I've hammered him. Sit down. Next ball, Strauss gets done. I've gone, you big stupid rugby. Do you remember that?
I do
We're
remember
having a
that,
bevy.
Yeah.
Oh, funny that. I forgot about that. I'm glad you reminded me about that. That's on telly somewhere, that.
I know.
That's on
I've
telly,
seen
isn't
it.
it?
I've seen it a few times.
Have you?
have,
I'm going to
yeah.
Google that.
Well, they panned into the crowd and saw
Oh,
you.
it's him. He's having a
I'm
bevy
having a
like
drink
this.
there. The doors are open, and I'm right behind.
The umpire's gone
I'm right in the line of Straussiana
Right.
because I'm right behind the
behind
wicket.
the bowler's
like, you mean.
arm.
I'm stood there having a drink like him. It must have been the bright suit I had on something.
Oh, funny.
And the sunglasses. Yeah.
Getting spotted.
It's funny.
Brilliant.
And he got done the next. Oh, no. Forgot about that.
Panned right onto me, the camera.
It did.
And I went, ooh.
I can imagine you two have a lot of fun when,
We do, yeah.
when you're
Yeah, we
out.
have a
When
lot
you're
of fun,
out. So the role of a manager these days, obviously, it seems to have changed vastly from the kind of
Oh, massively, yeah.
stories.
Massively,
Yeah. So looking at the World Cup, looking at Gareth Southgate, what is the kind of tough question? But what's the kind of expectation for him? What would be a failure? What would be his job's at risk? Or
I don't know about job at risk because of he's got some some stature in what he's done, and he's a bit more time, like I mean. But of course, you never know with your bosses when they crack. And you're not in control of your own destiny sometimes when they don't show some goodwill, loyalty. What they all go about managers moving on, they don't show any loyalty. Well, that's the reverse of. You don't see any loyalty from above a lot of the time, like you know what I mean. So the expectation is show us that you can get to the final, and then we'd all want them to win it, but. It's got to be that by his record, and his record is with the players that he's got. There's only Sir Alf Ramsey done better.
I think he's done a great job. I think he's changed the whole ethos. I think the players are comfortable with it. You see that. I think there's extra pressure because he has done well, which comes with the territory.
Yeah.
Comes with the territory.
Expectation.
I think he'll be going in there looking to win it. I think you've got to do that with the players he's got. After that, do I think? I think it might be for him, and I'm talking for Gareth. Not the. I think he might just go.
That's enough.
that's it now.
I do.
I agree with that.
And by the way, he's done magnificent. If there was one thing, and this is always hard when you're a manager or a coach, he'll tell you it's timings or substitutions. And I was at the final against Italy, and I just thought he left it a bit too late. And I think if you spoke to Gareth, he might agree with that now. And that's where you've got to be so important. When we went 1-0, great start, and we were good. We could have gone, and then they started getting hold of in the middle of the park. They started getting possession, and being at the game, you smell it. And he made substitutes. He brought Grealish. And I just thought a wee bit too late. Now in the game, hey, I might be wrong, but that was just my opinion.
Yeah.
On the day, overall, magnificent job. Great young players. I think what's happened. I think the system of bringing the players through the FA have put in place is fantastic. I think all the players now know the jobs through the different age categories, and it's we've got some good players.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to talk to you as well, Peter, about the Ballon d'Or. So obviously, going back to 1985, you finished 4th in the world. I mean, absolutely insane. The Ballon d'Or is still so coveted now, and it's still, I think we all have hopes that there will be an English player that wins it soon. Can you just how was that experience?
I think Maradona won it. I think Platini was second. Elkiar, the Danish striker, was third, and I was fourth. And I was, Sam will tell you, as a young lad, I was quite good.
Going forward,
good at attacking,
really good. Yeah.
And then when they done me knee, I had to adapt my game. So what I find hard with the Ballon d'Or it's invariably attackers,
Yeah.
attacking-minded players who win it. Because people love goals.
They do.
People love goals.
Never
But,
see a goalie winning it. Either.
and the goalie might... By the way, Neville Southall won us that many games. If you're honest, and the goal going about Cantona, Schmeichel, won that many trophies for Manchester United.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you're talking about... It's always going to be a front man for me. Like, I remember, we just talked before, Reece James... As a right back, I still think he can play in the middle of the park. You know, would that type of player, would a holding midfield player ever win it? Will a centre back ever win it?
Well, I'm going to push you to choose 3 English lads that could win the Ballon d'Or. So 3,
Kane.
2, 1.
Yeah.
Kane in 3?
I go. Oh no, he'd be the number one. choice.
One?
Yeah.
He was number one because he's the one
He's the one
likely
who's
to
gonna knock
score
it
the
in.
goals or be the.
Well, there you go.
If England go all the way,
Lineker he was getting hammered, and then he got 3 against them, 2 against them, 1 against them, and he's a hero.
Yeah. Okay.
so he could be. But if England go a long way
Yeah.
in the World Cup as well, and he scores, he's up there with the leading scorers in the World Cup. He's got to be your number one.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Number one contender, I think.
Okay.
Bellingham second, Foden third. Attackers.
All attackers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saka.
If Foden can contest,
Good player.
if Foden can put his form
Yeah.
into England like he does at Manchester City, there's a little glitch to be overcome for Phil Foden. I don't know whether.
I think he's maturing physically
I mean,
all the
but
time.
he's 22. I mean, he's going to break all records at Man City the way he's going on. Like, and he's matured and he scores goals, makes goals, find his best position. You know,
Will Tottenham's opportunities, Tottenham's trophy or lack of trophies, affect Kane's chances of ever finishing high up in it?
yeah, invariably, I think.
Well, it was
It's
well documented.
invariably, it's well documented. That's why he wanted to get away, I think.
Yeah.
Not only, it's nothing to do with the Ballon d'Or, he wanted to get away and win some medals.
Yeah.
And it looks like he's come to terms with that now, and he's going to do and stay a bit like Alan Shearer. Well, Alan did win the Premier League with Blackburn, but nothing with Newcastle like he wanted to, but was happy enough being a Newcastle lad to stay with them and be a legend.
So who do you think is going to be England's player of the tournament?
I'll be here.
Like pushing you.
If we want to go, all we want to do is we want Harry Kane to be player of the tournament because we want Harry Kane to score all the goals that are going to take. Personally, I would always say, and I think one thing Gareth knows that if he has the best defensive record like he's had, and like he's focused on, which he's had criticism for, which is outrageous.
Yeah, it is.
Because every team that wins something has the best defensive record. Who win the Premier League, who win the Euros, win the Champions League, they have the best defensive record. And that's what happens.
I think Rice he knits all that together, doesn't he, in the middle of the park? That might be maybe a bit biased because there was a midfield player, but I just see him, he fills holes, he smells danger, and on the other side of it, he doesn't have release the ball and get it in there to people. I think he's a very instrumental player for England.
Yeah, he was in your starting 11 that we did
definitely,
earlier. Yes, absolutely. So you mentioned Reece James a little bit earlier. I want to touch on the right back situation that England has at the minute, but start off with tell us a little bit about Reece James, because you were at Wigan when he was there as a youngster.
I think we spotted him playing for Chelsea under 23s against Lincoln. Paul Cook, the manager, got him in, and then pre-season, just the pre-season, he gets the ball out, but he gets team play out, and then you see this kid, 1-2s, getting the byline, cutting it back, knocking balls in the what we call the corridor of uncertainty, and you're going, this kid can play. This kid can play. He's going to go, and anybody who I spoke to says, "Hey, Chelsea have got one. Chelsea have got one here," and he was a brilliant in the gymnasium, looking after himself, conscientious. But I'll tell you what, desire to win, and then he had a problem with a few injuries. He put him in the middle of the park, and he was the best player in the middle of the park. He was magnificent, and when you see a good young player and you go, wow, and to be fair to you, it wasn't good judgment. it was him being a player. You know, if you were there,
if
you were Coco the Clown,
you just go like this when you get a play like that. You go,
you go, yeah.
Thank you.
You see it.
Thank you.
You do. You go, wow.
The less time you have to spend with him, the better.
Yeah.
The less time you have to spend with the players, the better, because they got it.
Outstanding.
They get it. You got, you know.
And I think he should play if he's fit in the England side. But how much of a compliment to that? He's getting in before Walker. Kyle Walker has been absolutely outstanding.
Yeah,
outstanding. Trippier. You know, there's some players there.
Unbelievable.
You know, and to be
the
fair,
more right backs that we got, the left backs in it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So that's how much I rate him as a player, because Kyle Walker is a great player and has been a great player and won things.
So if they're all fit, Trent, Trippier, Walker, James. What order? If they're all fit,
James,
what order?
If they're all fit, that's a telling question.
Yeah.
James, Walker.
Like to push his James first, Walker second.
Trent, Alexander. Well, if they're all fit, then I have to go for how are they playing now?
Right.
Because we're talking right
System,
now.
yeah.
So Trent's not playing great now.
Yeah.
Got took off.
Yeah.
Love him. I think he's an unbelievable footballer, but
Great player.
Nobody's taught him how to defend yet. So I said that before in an episode last time, and I still say it now. It's nowhere near as important as our day, because our day was the most important thing first. Defending. Now it's the second most important. I mean, so I've got James and Trippier at the minute as 1 and 2 for me.
So how big of a problem is it, or how much of a worry is it for England? Because as it stands, we don't know if James, Walker and Trent will be fit for the World Cup. So how much of a problem is that for England? Will Trippier be able to handle it on his own?
The bottom line as a manager, you want them all fit. You want them all fit. If they're not fit, you don't worry about that then.
Okay.
The cards have been dealt. You just got to have your belief in Trippier. Would I believe in Trippier? Yeah. So you've got to be positive. You've got to be positive. You can't.
I like that.
He's on top of his game at Newcastle now. He won the league with in Spain.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, he went over there and played as well.
Went over and played every game.
Atletico Madrid, yeah.
And like I say, he can still play. And the beauty of him, he can play left back all day.
Yeah, he can. Yeah, he can.
I mean, I'm a fantasy football manager. That's my experience, and I have Trippier in my team. So, yes, we're kind of similar, the three of us. And you mentioned Trippier being able to play those variety of positions. How important is he for a squad, especially a squad going to the World Cup where you've got those players?
I think it's very important, but it's a bit like Dyer. He's the same. He can play centre midfield, centre back. And so he's got a couple of positions. I mean, we look at Declan Rice. This doesn't happen normally. Normally, when you start off up front, you go back the way. Declan Rice started as a centre half all his life, and now ends up a great centre midfield player. So he's been moved out of his natural position.
He could handle that, though.
into being. And now, if you said to him, "Go and play centre half," he'd go, "What? I don't want to play centre half." What do you mean? Whereas in the beginning, the manager would say, "Go and play centre midfield for me." He'd go, "Well, I'm not so sure I want to do that." And now he's just taken to it brilliantly. So, yeah. I always say to players, don't tie yourself down to one position, because you're only being available for selection for one position. If you come in and see me as a manager and say, I just can't play there, just don't play me there, just don't. And I'd say, look,
do me a job.
I will take the can, I will take the stick, and it was me that asked you to play in that position. And if you say, what a bad game he has, it's my fault. I put him out of position. It didn't work. It's my fault. I asked him to do a job for me. It didn't work. So I take the pressure on that way, and then say, but we need you to try and go. And then sooner, like Declan Rice, they end up not wanting to go back to their old position if it goes well.
Yeah.
And they keep getting selected. But you can then drop them back there if you're struggling with injuries or suspensions. And you say, well, just drop back there for a couple of games, and then you'll be back wherever you are before. So that flexibility in a player, we call them utility players in our day.
Well,
He's a good utility player.
Pep Guardiola has said that Phil Foden can play in 5 positions and could play in left back if he needed to.
Yeah, I'm sure he could.
Well, I'm not going to argue with Pep.
Neither am I.
Not at all.
Well, Peter, thank you so much for joining us.
Enjoyed it.
It's been really nice. I really love to hear the stories of the two of you together. So thank you so much for joining us, and thank you as always,
see you
Sam.
again next time.
Thank you. See you again next time. Yes, we'll be back next week with another episode of No Tippy Tappy Football, brought to you by William Hill, and we'll have another brilliant guest because Sam again, he'll open up his black book and we'll find someone else to join us. So thank you for joining us today.